Welcome, everybody, to our presentation today. To introduce myself, my name is Sean Gorman. I work in the Tufts Career Center on the employer relations team as the recruitment coordinator, and I'll let Mitch introduce himself real quick before we kick this off.
Hi, everyone. Happy Friday. Mitch Moise, Assistant Director for Employee Relations at our Tufts Career Center. We have an exciting presentation ready for everyone. And if you have any questions, again, feel free to put in the chat, and we'll have a section later in the presentation if you'd like to come off mute and share those questions as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Mitch. So yeah, really appreciate all of you guys showing up for the presentation today. As you can see in the title, this is a prepare for the career fairs presentation. We're making it two because there are two in the next coming Fridays. First, the Biotech Health and Life Sciences Virtual Career Fair next Friday between 1 and 4 p.m. That's a collaboration between multiple schools for specifically students interested in biotech, health, and life sciences. And then there's the Tufts Specific Spring in-person career fair on February 6th from 11:30 to 2:30 in the Ganter Center. So we'll get right into it. So just to give you an agenda, I know I kind of already did that, but talking about why you should attend a career fair, what the benefit for you may be. Then we'll get in specifically to the in-person career fair preparation. I'll cover that. We'll talk about the virtual career fair after that. Mitch will be on that part. And then, like he mentioned, we'll do Q&A at the end. Obviously, you can put in any questions into the chat while we're going through, but we'll do a specific, like, take you off mute Q&A right at the end of this. So, just to break down the differences here, the virtual career fair, like I said, is next Friday from 1 to 4 p.m. Eastern. It is being held specifically on Handshake. I know you all know what that is because you registered for this event through Handshake, so you must all have accounts. In that you can create your own schedule for different group and individual sessions. The group sessions being 30 minutes, the one-on-ones being 10 minutes. These are with different employers who have registered for the virtual career fair. For this to work, obviously, you know how a virtual meeting works because you're in one right now, but you have to have a working computer and internet access and make your resume public so that it can be viewed by the employers who are going to be there, whether the group or one-on-one information sessions. Then to get into the in-person career fair, the difference is here. That career fair is on February 6th, so the Friday after next Friday from 11:30 to 2:30 Eastern. This is being held in the Ganter Center on Tufts campus. Right now, we have around 90 employers registered. That can still grow from here, as registration is still open as of now. We will have different booths for each of them where you can go and talk to them at their tables. Different areas for networking. There's specifically going to be a LinkedIn photo booth. So if you can, you want to get your LinkedIn headshot updated, you can do that at the fair as well. And similarly to the virtual fair, we want to make sure that you have resumes prepared for this. Given that this is an in-person fair, those resumes will need to be, printed, or you can email them over phone if that's what the recruiter wants. But I recommend coming in with several copies of printed resumes that you can hand out to recruiters at different employers you are interested in. Then going into the next slide here, what are the benefits of the career fair for tough students? Why is that something that you should spend your valuable time attending? And ultimately, it's pretty simple. It's to meet different employers who have all registered for the fair and shown the Tufts employer relations team that they're very interested in actively engaging with tough students, taking time out of their busy working schedules to meet with all of you. So these are going to be employers looking for students to fill entry level positions for after graduation. So that applies to seniors, obviously, in the immediate term, who are going to be looking for full-time roles after they graduate. Also, employers will be there to talk about internships and co-op opportunities. That would be for everybody else who will be continuing on at Tufts after this academic year. And those internships could be for all class years, juniors, sophomores, freshmen, likely to be most commonly for juniors, as that's what, internship programs are most often designed for. But there will be opportunities there for everybody. It depends on each company's needs and what they're there to recruit for. And even for students who are not actively looking for employment opportunities at this time, whether full-time internship or otherwise, there is still the benefit of building your professional network, learning from other people's experiences at different companies in different industries, hearing what is interesting to you, what may not be interesting to you, and ultimately building up connections of people who may know someone down the line who could help you out in your job or internship search. So, just tips before the fair, how to get the process rolling, sign up for the fair, all that sort of thing. So, the in-person fair, just like the virtual one, is on Handshake. So that is where you register for the fair. That is where you can find out which employers have registered for the fair and all other information you'll need to know. So make sure that you register for the fair online on Handshake through your computer or phone, and make sure you have Handshake downloaded on your phone for the day of the fair. Make sure to add the date to your calendar so that you don't forget what day it is. Again, it is 2 Fridays from now, February 6th from 11:30 to 2:30. Make sure that you check out which companies are coming and will be in attendance to meet with students. There are companies from a variety of different industries, so whatever may be of interest to you, make sure you look on the list of the companies coming in your areas of interest. And then another piece of advice really before would be to research companies you may be interested in beforehand so that you come in with a plan of who you may want to meet with. It's a lot easier to figure out, hey, I might be interested in these specific companies on your own time before in sort of a calm environment rather than at the fair where there are going to be 1,000+ students there all running around looking for different places. And then, you're thinking, who do I actually want to meet with here? Figuring out a plan beforehand was really helpful, in my opinion, so that can use your time most valuably, connecting with different people. So just to show you what it looks like on Handshake, this is just a picture of the Tough Spring 2026 in-person fair registration from a student view. You'll notice on mine it says not qualified to join. That's because I'm not a student. You won't be seeing that on your end. I am not qualified to register for the career fairs. I'm not an active Tough student, but you all are. So you'll be eligible to register for that. And this is what you'll see. This is the main homepage. As you can see, you can look through the different employers in the employers tab and filter by industry and do all that. You can also look through what jobs are posted by these specific employers right now so that you know what they're actively recruiting for. You can see maybe one of these positions is of active interest for me and I want to talk about, that exact position with the recruiter. Or if there isn't anything that you see at a specific employer that's of interest, then you can say, what other opportunities may you have? How else can I get involved in your network and, eventually at your company? Because not everything that any of these employers are going to be recruiting for will necessarily be posted on Handshake. In fact, a lot of opportunities may not be. So keeping your options open and is helpful for any of these employers. So beyond that, beyond registering for the fair itself, make sure that the resume you will be printing and bringing to hand out to different employers at the fair is updated. It's really essential to make sure that you're communicating your professional experiences properly. That's something that you can not only say to employers, but also can put in writing, as that's ultimately what they'll be taking with them after the fair. And pieces of advice of opportunities to update that and make sure that that's really well tailored. You could make an appointment at the Tufts Career Center to meet with an advisor in your specific area of focus. I know that there are the 7 different career communities that Tufts has, and whatever yours may be. Try to make an appointment to meet with an advisor to talk about it. I know that they also may be super busy right now with appointments heading into the career fair. That's why we also have our open career labs where there are student career fellows who are trained to help all Tufts students with their resume, with professional presentation, cover letters, anything else. And those are happening Monday through Friday from 12 to 2. So just come on in, drop by to meet with one of those students if you're not able to make a specific career advisor appointment if the times may not work for you for any other reason. That's why we have those career labs too, so that we can really help all of you. Yeah, beyond that, beyond having your resume updated, I know I mentioned something that career fellows can help with, something we can help with is ultimately how you present yourself professionally at the career fair. And that's just as important as your resume is the impression that you make face to face. I know it often feels like when there are a lot of people in a line at a career fair, if there's a specific employer that a lot of students are looking to meet with, you think, how are they possibly going to remember me if there are all these other people talking to them? And a way you can make yourself stand out is a good introduction, since ultimately you only have a little bit of time to speak to each person. So really just talking through the simple things, probably, things I didn't even need to write down here, but your name, your school year. I think it's always a good idea to include your major and areas of interest so they have a further understanding of who you are and what you're looking for. Talking about specifically why you're interested in meeting with them. It may be their specific industry, it may be initiatives they have at their company. They may have specific, like I said, specific jobs posted that you could be interested in. They may not, and you just may think it's a really interesting place to work. Or maybe it's more exploratory and you're looking to broaden your knowledge about different companies and areas, and you just want to learn a little bit. But having specific reasons about why you want to meet with each employer, I think is pretty important and is a good way to help yourself stand out in the crowd, to show employers, I'm not just looking for a job here, and a paycheck, but I ultimately do want to grow my experience and learn from you as well. All that's really important, I think. And having good questions prepared is really key too. I know that's something that I say to anybody who is preparing for an interview. And while this may not be an interview, the same really still applies. It shows curiosity. Um, it shows that you're genuinely interested in learning from and meeting the person that you're going to be speaking to. And also, it's helpful for you if you have specific targeted questions that tell you more about an employer. That's just more knowledge for yourself to determine, is this of interest to me? Is it not? It's ultimately good for both parties if you come prepared with good questions. And a way to really make sure that you're using your time valuably with each employer is to, like I said, do your research beforehand so you have an understanding of who they are. So you're not just spending your time asking, what do you do? But instead, if you already know what they do, you can ask more direct questions and more specific questions about that, which ultimately is more impressive. So yeah, that'd be and just my pieces of advice off the rip. But obviously you guys are smart kids and you know what to do. But yeah, I think an example here off to the side is a good one. Just this example student, Kelly. Hi, my name's Kelly. I use the she series pronouns. I'm a junior. I'm really interested in education and I'm attending the fair today to explore and learn about opportunities beyond teaching. I'm excited to be talking to you. Read through your internship program. Seems like a great opportunity, and I'd love to learn more about that. So, in this introduction, she's showing that she is an understanding at least a little bit of what she is looking for, but there is also the exploratory nature of it where she does want to learn more about opportunities outside of teaching. She's clearly done her research on this ABC employer, to know that there's a specific internship program she's interested in, and they can ask more guided questions about that and ultimately, make it really helpful for her. So the day of the fair, in terms of what to bring, how to be most prepared for it. Make sure you're bringing your Tufts ID or your just general ID to get checked in for the fair so that we know you're there, so that we have an understanding of student attendance and that employers will ultimately know that you were in attendance at the fair. Beyond that, like I had said earlier, bring your phone, make sure it's fully charged if possible. With the Handshake app downloaded. This is important because a lot of the employers will be using QR codes generated by Handshake to track demonstrated interest and attendance at their tables. Some of them won't, will have them printed for all of them. Some of them will have their own QR codes where they want to track it separately, so that their own internal recruiting teams just get that information separately. That's totally fine. But a lot of them will have QR codes generated by handshake that will, if you scan that and, say that you were at the table, they'll understand that they're an employer that you're interested in, and it helps them remember all the names of people they met with after the fair, as a lot of them will be meeting with a lot of people. So important to bring that as well. Beyond that, if you want, you can bring a face mask. There will be a lot of people in there. Obviously, this isn't COVID times anymore. That's not something that's required. But if that's something that you are, looking to bring, just because there will be several thousand people in there, I should call it out for that reason. Um, like I said, many copies of your resume, depending on how many employers you want to meet with. I recommend if you can print like 20, 25 copies of it. You'd rather have more than have less. It's better to walk home with some extras that you can use in the future and ultimately didn't hand out than, be at the fair and think, oh, I wish I had like five more copies of my resume to hand out to these employers, but I don't. Definitely want to be over prepared rather than under prepared. And your friends. Ultimately, this is an opportunity that is open to all tough students of all class years, whether undergraduate or graduate. Make sure you share the opportunity with everybody because ultimately it's meant to benefit all of you in the Tufts community as we try to do what we're here to do as the Tufts Career Center, which is help you guys get jobs and help you start careers that are ultimately fulfilling for all of you. That's the goal. So make sure you spread the word because you guys are more connected to the Tufts student community and better at advertising than me and Mitch are. So make sure you tell everybody about it. Ultimately, and just want to show you here a general layout of the employer booths and how it looks. Any of you have been to the career fairs in the past and this fall, and in past years will know that this is ultimately very similar to what it has looked like in past years. You come in through the front doors to the Gantry Center, you get checked in, and then in the entire way back, there's just going to be booths and booths and booths of the currently 90 employers that are there. Generally, and I think we'll do it again this way this semester, they are organized in alphabetical order. So you'll have a general sense of where you may want to go based on the employer's name. So obviously in the front left, it's going to start with A, and then in the back right is going to end with Z. And then you fill in the rest of the blanks on the way there. Off to the side, there will be the LinkedIn photo booth. You'll notice that there'll be specific student hangout areas if you need, a few minutes to decompress in the 3-hour career fair, as well as different tables for the Career Center staff to sit at to help with Q&A. There'll be a quiet conversations area if you're looking to, take an employer just for a quieter one-on-one conversation if the, crowded thousands of people environment is a little bit overwhelming. We have that set up as well as, other options for conversation and just walking around. So when you walk in, like I mentioned, there's going to be the student check-in tables right away. You're going to be engaging with one of the staff members of the Career Center where they're just going to ask you to just tap your student ID card. That's why I say that's important to bring. That's how we're able to track that you were there and ultimately share your name with any employers who are interested. Um, Beyond that, there will be the name tag tables right there where you can then just put on like a sticky name tag on your chest and you can write your name so they obviously know who you are. There's the Career Center Q&A table right near the entrance that I mentioned, where there'll be a map of where employers are located, so you have a general sense. Again, it'll be alphabetical order, like I told you, but just so you remember that on the day of the fair, as well as a guide to the specific employers who are in attendance. And then there's the employer booths, like I mentioned, that will be taking up the rest of the space. You will not miss those. But yeah, in terms of making the career fair accessibility, options for students. I know I mentioned some of that already with that quiet conversations area that we have specifically set up for students who may need a quieter environment to engage with employers. That is open to you. You can ask any of the employers to go to that area. We have told them in, guides we've sent to them that that will be there. So they are aware of it, at least if they read the guide, which they should have. But in terms of that, that's all set there. Then there's also the student hangout area that I have mentioned as well, where you'll be able to, chat with your friends. That is not for employers. That's for students to just be able to decompress in that crowded environment. There should be, some snacks over there, chairs to hang out at, pretty chill. But if you have any disability related accommodation requests or needs, I've put the email of the person to reach out to here. It's Sue Atkins. She's the associate director of the employer relations team that Mitch and I are on. She's the right person to reach out to for any specific requests you may have. And she's doing the same for, any employer requests in that area as well. In terms of professional attire and how to dress for the career fair, it's a business professional environment. So, whatever nice professional clothing you may have is ultimately the way to go. I recommend, if possible, avoiding, super, I guess, busy clothing is the best way to put it. You don't want to like stand out necessarily because of that. You want to stand out because you're professional and you're presenting yourself well, and you have a lot to bring to the table in terms of your resume and your professional experience or academic experience, and you all have that. So lead with that instead of, I guess, your outfit. But yeah, it's a business professional environment, ultimately, and that's something that you all deem based on what you have, is the best thing to wear. I trust every tough student's judgment. You guys are all very smart. But there's also benefit of, when you're in a professional dress, not only are you presenting well to employers, but there's the LinkedIn photo booth, and you can get your headshot for free in there. And I know that's something that a lot of people don't necessarily have the time to do. I know when I was a college student, that wasn't something I was like, oh, I'm not going to just dress up for a LinkedIn headshot. Well, you can kill two birds in one stone here. So there you go. Um, but what to do with the booths? I know this may be a little bit repetitive too, but make sure you scan the QR code, whether through Handshake or their own code, to check yourself in, demonstrate your interest, and make sure that they have, a copy of your name that you visited their booth and are interested in their company. Make sure you're introducing yourself professionally and asking questions, and hopefully targeted questions about each specific employer so that you're able to learn as much as you possibly can. Feel free to take any of the swag or handouts they may have. It is ultimately there for you, and it's how they're advertising their company. So you can take any of it that you want. Um, and if they're offering it, and the vast majority of them will be, get contact information of who you've spoken with. And that way you have a point of contact at each company who you can follow up with regarding applications, ask further questions. And real piece of advice I have, and we'll get into this sort of talking about what to do after the fair, and it's the first thing that popped up here. Send thank you notes. I really strongly recommend, since the fair is on a Friday, make sure that if there's someone you met with that you are, grateful for their time, and I really mean you should probably do this with like everybody whose contact information you got, but especially to people you really want to stay in touch with and companies you're really interested in, send them thank you notes and try to get those out before Monday morning. The fair will be ending on a Friday afternoon. A lot of them won't be checking their inbox immediately. I always think it's good practice to get them out within 24 hours of meeting somebody. But since the fair is on a Friday afternoon, ultimately, I really think you should just make sure that those thank you notes are in their inbox on Monday morning when they get to work. That way they know that we're really appreciative of meeting with them, really interested in their job and their company, and that it's something that clearly matters to you because it mattered enough for you to take the time on a Friday afternoon or a weekend to just send a quick note. Not a heavy lift for you guys, but it does go a long way, and I really do think that. So something definitely to do. Um, Make sure if there are specific opportunities you heard of at the fair, that you may have asked about and are interested in, and if they're actively open, apply for them. Apply for them, right after the fair, or over the weekend, or quickly into the next week, because the way a lot of job applications work, as you probably know, is that time is of the essence. There are a lot of people who apply to a lot of different opportunities. If you see something, don't wait on it. Apply for it and really get your name out there. And follow companies on Handshake. A lot of the recruiters who are going to be at this fair are utilizing Handshake. They had to register for the fair through Handshake themselves. So they all have accounts. So I know that because that's how they registered. And a lot of them are actively using those accounts as well. So it is beneficial to follow them on Handshake and ultimately be able to connect with companies that way as well, especially if you don't have a specific email to reach out to. This is going to be the best way to stay in touch with, each company you meet with. So yeah, I appreciate your guys' time with that, and we'll answer any questions about the in-person fair in a bit. But I'll turn it over to Mitch to talk about the virtual fair coming up next week.
Yes, thanks, Sean. And I know we're getting close to time, but don't worry, we'll conquer everything. So, yes, so coming up next fair is going to be the Biotech Health and Life Science Virtual Career Fair. It's a little bit different from the in-person fair, but a lot of the same things. And I'm happy to share them with you. Yeah, so first, how's it different from the in-person fair? So the virtual fair, for one, you can attend this in your own home. Find a nice quiet place for the meeting. I know in past years for myself that for attending a virtual fair, I'd go to the library, reserve a space that was nice and quiet, or again, you can be in your own dorm space, but somewhere nice and quiet so you don't have any distractions and a nice, easy place to have this opportunity. Again, with this different virtual career fair, you have an opportunity to meet with employers in a group session or one-on-one. So less as busy comparatively to the in-person fair, more one-on-one, more personal. I'd also mention create your schedule and meet with these employers on Handshake. In our next slide, we'll show where you can actually do this. But yes, having that will allow yourself to know who am I meeting, what time, and have yourself prepare for these opportunities. And again, if you have any questions or need any help, we'll have a Zoom help room with our Career Center staff available for questions. Or if you just want to come by and say hi. And yes, with your handshake profile, it's great tips to have it 100% complete. I know sometimes, we may just want to add in a few different pieces here and there and hope that, hey, they'll just recognize some of the points that I added on. More is always better. Include your major, your minor, GPA, work authorization. Add the roles and location preferences so they have an idea as well. And set your profile to community so that way they can fully see your handshake profile as well. Now, on the right side, you'll see an example of the schedule. But yeah, you can create your own schedule for these virtual career fairs. You can browse and see which employer is going to be there, around what times, and those opportunities. Some may have one-on-ones for about 10 minutes. Some may have group sessions for half an hour. So depending on your schedule, your availability, the different employers coming in, take a look ahead of time. So that way you have that chance to see what opportunities are available. And then check back throughout the week just to make sure, hey, maybe there's some other employers you might have missed that first go around that you'd like to connect with, or maybe there's certain more that you want to add on. Definitely check. I guess it'd be next week before the fair takes place, so you have an idea of who's coming in. And last but not least, don't be late. They're going to be excited to see you. They're going to be excited to share this information. Come on time. For me, I like to think if you're on time, you're late. So come about like 5 minutes early, 10 minutes, just to make sure you give yourself plenty of time to be there. And on the right hand side, yes, you'll see a sample schedule. For this example, it could be from 1 to 1:30, a group session, 1:30 to 1:40, one-on-ones, 1:40 to 1:50. Again, some additional one-on-ones. And again, you can see the breakdown of how it plays out, but you have a unique schedule based on what you want to go see and connect with. And again, you'll have that opportunity to connect these employers. Yeah, and here's a quick snippet of what it looks like on Handshake. As Sean highlighted earlier, unfortunately, we couldn't sign up for the career fair itself, so this is a snippet of what it looks like on Handshake. On the right-hand side for you all, you will get a chance to register and see who's coming in at those exact times, and that way prepare ahead of time for the day that you will have for this virtual career fair. Some additional tips. And sometimes we like to think the internet works. I don't know if anyone has Verizon. Last week, the whole system went down. So just in case, check to make sure your wireless connections are working. Your microphones, your cameras. I like to say, for me personally, I like Google Chrome for a browser. We highly recommend it as well. And after that, feel free to check your network. The system that we attach the link for works great. It'll run through to see if there's any hiccups. Because again, on the day of this event, you want to make sure everything is nice and smooth, no hiccups. And if there are any hiccups, we'll catch it ahead of time. So allow yourself that time to check over all your tech devices. You can use your laptop or versus your phone, but again, I think if you have the laptop, feel free to utilize that. Give yourself that time, that space, the full screen itself to have those great experiences for this virtual fair. And yes, on the day of the fair, I like to call it's going to be like a five-star a check. So your first check's going to be check your tech. Gotta have that correct. Find a nice quiet location. If it's at home, great. If it's in the dorm, great. I already mentioned, hey, I went to the library. I called ahead of time to see if I can have my own space reserved so I didn't have any distractions. Definitely have a nice quiet space just to make sure you don't have any distractions. Look polished. As Sean highlighted, you want to dress the part, have a nice business professional attire, have your hair ready, your nice outfit, and go in feeling great. One of my favorite quotes is if you feel good, you look good. If you look good, you'll do good. So have a nice polished look. And again, be on time. You want to be on time, if not early, for these sessions. As mentioned, these employers, they're excited to meet you, so we don't want to have a situation where we get there 5 minutes late because then it looks as though you aren't as excited to see them as vice versa. And don't go ghost. Listen, we know life happens. Sometimes we plan for something and life takes place and we're not going to be where we told somebody else we would be. So ahead of time, let maybe the employer know, like, hey, you're still interested, or let one of our team members know on the career center, hey, I was scheduled to meet with this employer. Unfortunately, something came up. It's always great to provide additional information and not go ghost because nobody wants to go ghost. Yeah, and make the most out of your one-on-ones. Be courteous. Show enthusiasm. Come with questions as Sean highlighted earlier. Take notes and ask for those contact information. And as mentioned, Tufts does have a no-show policy, so students may lose access to a handshake if they miss their one-on-ones. But come excited. This is going to be a fun time, a great time. You don't have to have all the answers, but come with some questions for them because they're going to want to hear from you and learn more about yourself. And again, if you need any help, we'll have our student Zoom waiting room, and that's another space where you can go and ask any questions, or if you have just anything that comes up, we'll be there from 12 to 4 the entire time. Myself, Sean, different members of the team. So, and again, if you just want to come say hi, come on down. Like my favorite show, you're the next contestant on The Price is Right. I love that show. And yes, here's some additional helpful links. Registering for the fair, our career center, more information there, career lab, our career fellows. And again, feel free to schedule time with our career team to have your resume looked over. That's what we're here for. We're here to support and be of service and be able to help you with those resume questions or anything of the sort. Take advantage. Come see us. Ask any questions. We're always here to help out. Hey, you have any questions? Feel free to let us know.
And if not, we really appreciate you coming down and hope to see you at one or both of the fairs.
Absolutely. Excellent. And yes, we have a question in the chat. So I have a separate work email. Can I provide that on my resume or does it have to be my Tufts email? I would say if you have the space to include both, feel free to include both. I'd also say Tufts email may be the best one, but again, if you have the space, add in both.
Yeah, I agree. General practice, probably the Tufts email is the best, but whatever email you're ultimately checking the most is going to be
Yes,
the one you want to put there, because then you know where any important communication is going.
absolutely.